What's up, you guys? Teddy Striker here, and yesterday Dana White finally announced the main event of UFC 317 that was dependent on the result of UFC 315 between Bilal Muhammad and Jack Della Maddalena. And now we know that Islam Makhachev is no longer the UFC lightweight champ. Well, at least he won't be as soon as the bell rings for Ilia Topuria versus Charles Oliveira. And these two are gonna fight, and Islam Makhachev is gonna fight JDM in the welterweight division. And even though a lot of people wanted to see Ilia Topuria versus Islam Makhachev, I still feel like this is a great alternative. I feel like the rightful guy who should have been fighting for the belt was maybe Arman Tsarukyan, but Oliveira is a star. He was a former champion. He never got his rematch after beating Beneil Dariush because he had to pull out. And he was in a similar situation as Arman, where he had to fight again because he pulled out shortly before the fight. But let's talk about Ilia versus Oliveira. And right now I'm leaning towards Ilia Topuria, but Charles is not an easy fight at all. I feel like this is probably going to be one of his hardest fights because Oliveira can do everything in there at such a high level. I mean, this guy can strike with the best strikers in the world and best them on the feet like he did with Dustin Poirier and Justin Gaethje. And also he can hang on the ground with some of the best grapplers in the world. And he's actually one of the most dangerous submission artists the UFC has ever seen, with like 20 submission victories or even more than that. And on the feet, he can really put Ilia Topuria to sleep. This guy is very powerful. He's also much taller than Ilia, and he's going to have the reach advantage. So that 1-2 for him is going to be key. I feel like if he really focuses on that 1-2 combination, he could really hurt Ilia Topuria. And Ilia likes to use a shoulder roll, which is very effective against guys who are maybe a bit slower than you, or guys who are the same height and reach as you, because you won't have to worry about getting hit on top of your head. But against someone who's taller than you, the top of your head is going to be open and all, so you have to get the proper distance because they can punch you at a distance where you might not be able to hit them. But in addition to that 1-2, there's also the kicks of Oliveira. I feel like Oliveira is probably the hardest kicker that Ilia will have ever fought. I don't think he's fought someone with the kicking game of Oliveira. I mean, Max was throwing some kicks out there, Volk too, but they were throwing kicks on the back foot, so that means sometimes they might have not been able to generate as much power into those kicks as they would have liked because they weren't on the front foot. And when you're on the front foot, you have a lot more space and time to prepare and generate the proper power in your kicks. Also, Oliveira has a nasty clinch game that Ilia hasn't really had to deal with yet in his career. He's fought some of the best strikers in the world, like Max Holloway and Volkanovski, but those guys don't really have like that Muay Thai style where they'll go into a clinch and really try to, break you down from up close. And it seems like Ilia's main defense from the clinch is to kind of dip down and move away from the clinch, and that could leave him open for some knees. And Oliveira has some long limbs, and he's going to be able to reach Ilia with knees to the face that could do a lot of damage. And then there's the grappling of Charles Oliveira, who, like we said earlier, is one of the most dangerous submission artists in the history of the sport. And Ilia, the best grappler he's fought is Bryce Mitchell, which at the time, he was pretty good. But it seems like now Bryce Mitchell has been figured out and he isn't as big of a threat as maybe we thought he was before. But to Ilia's credit, he is a black belt in jiu-jitsu. He does have a background in Greco-Roman wrestling, and he seems pretty confident in his grappling abilities. He talked about how he was planning on submitting Islam Makhachev. Maybe that was a part of his preparation early on, as there's some negotiations between Ilia and Islam for their fight. So ultimately, I think that this is going to be a hard fight for Ilia. There's a lot of things that are going to be giving him problems and giving him challenges. But ultimately, I am going to go with Ilia Topuria to get the knockout victory here. And that's because I feel like Charles Oliveira is a little too easy to get to. With Max Holloway and Volkanovski, those guys had excellent footwork. And in my opinion, they were much better defensively with their footwork and their head movement than a guy like Oliveira, who is going to be there right in front of Ilia. And Ilia was able to get to them. It took a while, and he was losing against Volk, in my opinion. I thought he dropped the first round. He was losing the second round, but he made the adjustments and he put Volk in a position where he had no other option but to go to sleep. And with Max Holloway, he was also losing 2 rounds. But then in the third round, Ilia made some adjustments and he was able to get Max Holloway out of there. I think Ilia is going to be able to find his jab in this fight, considering Oliveira doesn't really move his head or use his feet to get out the way. He just keeps a high guard and he parries or catches shots on his guard. And Ilia has an excellent jab that I think is going to get through the guard of Oliveira. I think it's going to take some time, but the body shots are going to be there for Ilia. I don't think the leg kicks are going to be there because Oliveira has some of the best leg kicking defense in the UFC. He does a really good job with his leg kick defense. But I think eventually Ilia is going to be tagging him up a lot. And I think he's going to drop him real bad. And I think his power is going to translate over to the lightweight division because Ilia, he knows how to generate power properly. He's got excellent technique. He's gonna have a massive speed advantage too. So I feel like his speed is gonna be there and his power will be there as well. And I think he'll stop Oliveira within 3 rounds. But let me know your guys' thoughts down below. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Thank you guys for watching. God bless. And I'll see you in the next one.